Good evening, everyone. Welcome again, second time this 2025 as we move forward, and hope you're all doing well. And if you're not, this is a good time to maybe find some peace of mind for a little bit. So I thought tonight we'll jump into practice or settle into practice, and I would start with a brief reading here. And you'll notice tonight will be slightly different practice. I'm just introducing some new forms of practice, but it'll be fairly familiar with a few subtle changes. And I'll maybe discuss those a little bit after the practice to see how that worked for you. But we'll be doing basic mindfulness and loving kindness practice as we always do. So I thought I'd begin with a reading from Rumi. Everyone is overridden by thoughts. That's why they have so much heartache and sorrow. At times, I give myself up to thought purposefully, but when I choose, I spring up from those under its sway. I am like a high flying bird, and thought is a gnat. How should a gnat overpower me? I'll read it one more time. Everyone is overridden by thoughts. That's why they have so much heartache and sorrow. At times, I give myself up to thought purposefully, but when I choose, I spring up from those under its sway. I am like a high flying bird, and thought is a gnat. How should a gnat overpower me? So again, welcome. As we begin our practice, as I typically do, just kind of find a comfortable spot where you can sit or lie down, and having a fairly erect posture. And hands can be in the lap or on the legs, wherever it's comfortable for you. And as we begin, just checking in with your motivation. What brings you to practice tonight? What's the purpose for meditation? Just be honest with yourself. There's no judgment here, whatever it might be. And then just letting go of any specific expectations for the practice. As we know, these practices are really about bringing greater awareness to our thoughts, emotions, and with that capacity to impartially view those thoughts and emotions without getting lost in the dialogue that they bring up in the mind, just allow them to come and go. We settle the mind, and we also begin to see the quite temporary nature of thoughts and emotions if we don't push them away or grab onto them. They tend to fall away quite quickly. And this can be a very positive thing when we are overwhelmed by emotions. We can start to see that if we just allow them to be present, they often will settle and dissolve. And just being diligent with our practice tonight. So if you start falling into a lot of mind wandering or sleepiness, just that diligence to come back to the center between energy of staying focused and relaxation of being calm. We kind of have to have that balance between attention and relaxation. And then finally, just taking a moment to reflect on any thing that might be weighing on the mind tonight, any distractions. It could be, an old distraction that comes up, some worry, some guilt, some hope, whatever it might be. Maybe it's something that happened today or this past week. So just take a little inventory and notice those things that might pop up and cause us to ruminate. And having identified those, just acknowledge that they're there, but giving them permission to just take a break for the next hour, that we'll get back to them. And I always say they can have a nice rest under a big oak tree in a nice hammock, and they can take a nap for a little bit, knowing that we'll get back to them and deal with it after this hour is over. But for now, they can just rest and not abandon them. And then as we enter practice again, just checking the posture. And if you'd like to close your eyes, you can. Or if you want to keep your eyes open, typically we typically just have our eyes kind of like half open, looking down, maybe 5 feet in front of us towards the floor with a soft, diffuse gaze. We're not focusing on anything. And if you do have any distractions in the room, like your phone or whatever, you might want to shut those off so that they don't bother you. So let's just begin. Just noticing the whole body right now, just bringing awareness to the body. And specifically bringing awareness now to the top of the head and the face. Just feeling into the scalp, the brow, the forehead, the eyes, the cheeks, the jaw, the throat, the neck, the shoulders. And just inviting the whole head, face, neck, and shoulders. Let go of any contraction, any holding or tightness. And the face is just resting like we were in deep sleep. No subtle contractions in the muscles of the face. The jaw relaxes, maybe the teeth, if they're clenched, can unclench a bit. The tongue can be soft in the mouth. And continuing to notice the body, the shoulders, the upper back and the shoulder blades, just being with sensations there. Noticing the sensations of the contact of the middle of the back, the lower back and hips against the chair and the cushion. And just inviting the shoulders, the back, the hips to soften, soothe, and rest. Soften, soothe, and rest. Sensing into the front of the body, the chest, the ribs, the abdomen. Just noticing the rise and fall of the chest and abdomen as we breathe in and breathe out. So the simple noticing of the body right now, which we sometimes call a body scan, helps to bring attention into the present moment. And as we have the body as our object of attention, it's possible that thoughts, emotions tend to fade to the background a bit more. And we're just resting in the experience of sensation of the body. As we cultivate this capacity, the busyness of the mind with practice begins to slow and calm. Thoughts of past and future fade to the background. And right now we're just present with the experience of the breath in the belly and the chest. Experiencing the sensation of the rise and fall of the breath in the upper body. Deep invitation to just rest in the experience of the breath in the upper body right now. And dropping the attention down now through the belly, through the hips, down through the thighs and knees. Some sensations in the upper legs. If there's any tension in the lower back or the hips or the thighs, the knees, just inviting those areas to soften, soothe, and rest. And continuing to drop down through the knees, the calves, sensing into the shins, down into the ankles. And just noticing the bottom of the feet, the heels, arch, balls, the feet, the toes. Just feeling the contact of the earth under the feet. And just feel that solidity, gravity, this Mother Earth embracing us through her gravity and just holding us tight, this earth. A sense of stability and groundedness as we recognize that this human body and this earth body are made of the same elements: earth, air, fire, water, the air we breathe, the water we drink, the food we eat, the radiance of the sun. Just acknowledge that deep interconnectedness of all life that we participate in. We're not alone at all. Part of a vast community of relationships. And that's a still subtler level. As we do these practice, we begin to notice that there's a subtle awareness that we is our ground of being that is beyond even this earth or this universe. It's just an awakened awareness, pure awareness. And we begin to experience this limited sense of self that has a body. And we begin to experience this infinite self that has no center, no periphery, but is just always awake and aware without beginning or end. Now bring the attention back into the whole body. We're not creating necessarily a picture of the body in the mind or the brain. We're just resting in a general awareness, a wakefulness to the experience of being in a body. And again, what we might notice is that this awareness may not be completely limited just to the edge of the skin. There may be a sense of a larger sense of self at a deeper level. But for now, just being awake to whatever arises as we're aware of this body being, experience of being awake and aware in this moment. And just resting in that wakefulness. resting with alert, while being alert, being diligent with noticing our moment by moment experience of awareness. As we rest in this wakefulness, the senses probably are still open, like sounds in the background, sensations in the body, thoughts or emotions might be coming and going. And that's all fine. We just allow all that to flow through us while just resting in being awake and aware and just watching the movie of the mind and the body pass by. There's no need to become involved in the movement of thoughts, emotions, or sensations, whether they're pleasant or unpleasant. And we just cultivate this capacity to just rest in an open, spacious, kind-hearted awareness. Just allowing all experiences to just pass through awareness like clouds in a vast blue sky, coming and going. On their own accord. No need to change them. No need to grab on. No need to push away. So you can continue with this open awareness practice, but this may not be the best fit for some people. If it feels a little too ungrounded or the mind is really, really busy, you can shift to just feeling the breath, noticing the breath in the upper body. And you can do that for a couple minutes if you feel you're becoming quite stable with being with the breath moment by moment through sensation. You can then shift back to just being openly awake to the coming and going of experiences in the mind and the body. So do a practice that fits where your mind state is right now. That might be the more focused attention with the breath, or when there's enough stability, you can just open up to resting in the flow of this mind-body experience. Just resting. If you're following the breath, there's no need to change it in any way. It's a natural breath. It's allowing the body to breathe as it wants to. It's a natural breath. And if we're just resting in this wakeful awareness, we call this resting in the natural state. It's the ground of the awareness where prior to thought, there's just a calm abiding. We rest, if you're resting in the calm abiding, just being attentive to the movements in the mind, sounds you may hear, thoughts that may come up, emotional states that may come up. Just noticing them, and notice how they come into form, last a little bit, and then dissolve back into stillness. And oftentimes it's kind of interesting, they just pop up seemingly from nowhere. If we're just observing thoughts, emotions, sensations just pop up, staying for a bit, and then fall back into stillness, emptiness. So in this resting in our natural state, there's nothing really to do. There's nowhere to get to. Just resting in the now. And there are no problems to solve. It's resting in this natural state. And you may notice as our foreground of awareness, attention is kind of just rest in that open, spacious wakefulness. And in the background, in like clouds floating by, are maybe sounds or thoughts, emotions, and they just come and go. And you see them come and go. And you begin to notice their very temporary nature. And you simply just allow them to have their life emerge and dissolve as they need to. This natural state of open awareness, we're getting a taste of our ground being that which is always present. It's prior to the analytical mind. It's just a mirror-like mind that just observes openly, open-heartedly. Doesn't jump to analysis or preference or judgment immediately, but can just hold space for reality to emerge without our need to figure it out immediately. We just allow life to flow a bit more. And this can carry over into our day-to-day life with practice, where we can notice the background of reactive mind and emotions, Allow them to just come and go. And stay open and spacious in this wider awareness where wisdom can arise, wise response can arise. It's a really valuable capacity to touch into our deepest nature. Allows us to not be tossed about by the outer world so much or our inner world of thoughts and emotions. It's resting in this quality of equanimity, of spaciousness, of joy, this ground, natural state of awareness. Pausing for a moment and just checking in with the body now. And just noticing any subtle contractions around the eyes or the brow, forehead, cheeks, the jaw, throat, the neck, the shoulders, and just inviting the whole head, face, neck, and shoulders to soften, soothe, and rest. Just letting go of any subtle contractions of the facial muscles, forehead, the brow, the eyes, the cheeks, chin, the jaw. And just inviting the whole body, the shoulders, the back, the chest, the hips, the legs and feet, arms and hands. Soften, soothe, and rest. And then just returning to this resting in open, spacious awareness of all that moves through mind and body. And if there's any experience of quietude or a sense of peace, just connecting to that and feeling the joy of just being maybe a bit more soft and quiet and still. Just inviting that experience into every cell of the body, recognizing that this is our birthright, our natural nature, our true nature. It's a celebration to know that this quality of being is at the root of who we are. It's taking in that beauty of that quality of experience, the mind, the body, into the heart. Inviting a smile into the heart, into the face. You take in that quietude and that rest of this moment. Just resting in that spacious quality of equanimity and joy of this moment. Just resting in our natural state of open, spacious awareness. As we rest, just maintaining an alertness. As I've mentioned before, if there's you're struggling all with drowsiness or dullness, if your eyes are closed, just raise the eyes a little above horizon line, and you'll bring a little more energy in the body. Or if you're struggling with a lot of activity in the mind, you can lower the gaze below horizon line a little bit, and this tends to soothe the nervous system and the busy mind. Just some techniques to help to work with either dullness or agitation. It's continuing to be open and spacious with all that flows through your mind and body. As thoughts may come up as you gain subtle capacity to see the movement of thought, you may begin to see them just as they emerge, or maybe it's a few seconds after they emerge. If you want to try to trace back, when the thought comes up to that point of emergence, you often find that there's no willful act there unless we get into a dialogue with the thought. It's an initial emergence. This seems to pop out of emptiness. Some might say the unconscious mind, but there doesn't seem to be a doer there. The mind is simply just generating random experiences and sensations. So as we become more attuned to this, we begin to see the dream-like nature of thoughts, that they emerge spontaneously. Their own accord, and because of that, we don't have to take them quite so seriously. They come and they go. It's our tendency to grab onto thoughts and emotions and identify them as me or a memory of me and act from those when that memory and that response may not be the wisest response in this moment. But we tend to automatically grab onto an old memory that looks like the present moment and say that's what this moment must be, which is useful, but we know it's also problematic in that each moment of our life is unique and new. So our old thoughts are old. They're not the total reality of what's happening right now. So this capacity not be so attached with the automatic reactive mind, and really improve the quality of our day-to-day life. These practices are giving that capacity to be with the reactive mind without grabbing on to that reactivity as my essential nature or the essential me. This is the reaction based on the past. It may or may not be that relevant as a response to this moment. Again, just resting in the open, spacious awareness. It's curious of this phenomenon of the coming and going of impulses through the mind. Nothing to do, nowhere to go, no problems to solve right now. It's resting in this natural state of open-hearted awareness. And bringing the attention down into the abdomen, grounding the body a little bit. Bringing the attention, bringing it up from the abdomen, up into the chest, into the center of the chest, the heart area. And we'll move into our final practice of loving kindness for self and others. And we'll begin just with ourselves, extending kindness towards ourselves. I'll repeat these phrases. You can just silently take these in. Sometimes the mind may resist phrases towards compassion towards ourselves, and that's fine. Whatever comes up, just be curious. Again, just observing it with that open, spacious awareness. So we begin with loving kindness towards ourselves. May I be happy and joyful in this moment. May I be healthy in mind, healthy in body, healthy in spirit. May I know inner peace in this moment. May I realize peace in all my relationships. May I know peace in all my relationships. May I be free from suffering and free from the causes of suffering. May I live with ease. May I live with ease. May I be happy and joyful in this moment. May I be healthy in mind, healthy in body, healthy in spirit. May I know inner peace, my mind and my heart. May I know peace in all my relationships. May I be free from suffering and free from the causes of suffering. Now extend this loving kindness to all beings across this vast universe, sending concentric circles of loving kindness out in front of us, behind us, to the left, to the right, above and below. This ripple effect of loving kindness is radiating out from the heart into the edges of the universe and beyond. May all beings be happy and joyful. May all beings be healthy in mind, healthy in body, healthy in spirit. May all beings know inner peace, and peace in their relationships. May all beings be free from suffering and free from the causes of suffering. May all beings live with ease. May all beings be happy. May all beings be healthy. May all beings be peaceful. May all beings be free from suffering and free from the causes of suffering. May all beings live with ease. And returning to ourselves, may I be happy. May I be healthy. May I be peaceful. May I be free from suffering and free from the causes of suffering. May I live with ease. Let's return to the breath for a moment. Just being with the breath. And then just bringing the attention down the legs, down into the feet, feeling grounded in the earth. That concludes our formal practice session. You may have noticed a little difference. I was offering up some of the practice where there's really no object of focus per se. In our early practice, we develop attention typically by focusing on an object like a candle or the breath, and noticing when the attention wanders off from that object and then bringing it back. And that's very important and effective at stabilizing attention. As we get a little more stability, we can move to this phase where there's just an open awareness of all that's coming and going in the mind and the body. And we're just kind of resting in this open awareness. And this is kind of the next stage of practice, in that when the mind becomes stable enough and we can notice the coming and going of thoughts and emotions without getting lost in them, distracted by them, we can begin to have some insight, what we call vipassana practice, insight into the temporary nature of thoughts and emotions. We see that they're not nearly as solid as we thought, and we actually see that often we think we may be making it, initiating a thought, but most often, they just arise. Now, a thought may arise from an emotional state, so there could be an emotional trigger, but again, that emotion is something from the unconscious mind, a memory that's being touched upon, and then it's emerging, and then we're reacting to that. So this is part of these teachings in Buddhism, is we start to see that this very concept of a separate self is a bit of a dream, in that it's just a artifact of our memories largely, and an automatic response to outer stimulus. And attachment to those memories can create all sorts of problems for us in life. When we get overly attached to our assumptions or our preferences, and we encounter someone or a situation that is in conflict with those, it creates suffering. With greater insight, we can see, that's just a pattern that we're used to, that we're habituated to, and we have a preference to it, but it doesn't have to mean it. Life has to match that. We always want life to match our own preferences and assumptions. We know that's challenging. Like, life does what it's going to do. Doesn't mean we don't have values and ethics and all that, but we can be a little softer with our own egos, and realize that they're largely a product of the past, and may not accurately represent how we want to respond in this moment. So I will stop with my babbling at that point. And if anybody would like to turn on their cameras, if people have questions or comments about the practice, I think we'll be going on next month. We'll be moving into practice 5, Awakening Your Spiritual Vision in our book. But any questions or I'm curious if people were, how they were working with thoughts or emotions if they came up. If the breathing practice was helpful and stabilizing, or were you able to work with this open awareness, or was that too ungrounded? I'm just curious how people were interacting with those practices, and if you'd like any feedback or not. This is typically after we do 45 minutes of practice, people are like, I'm fine. No need to mentalize it. But I'll continue to share this practice with a little more as we continue that over the next few months. I'll be bringing in more of this open awareness, and then we'll start to get into a little bit more investigation once we have this capacity to observe the coming and going of thoughts and emotions, to inquire into them. And when I'll explain that when we do it, it's not really it's not an analytical inquiry. It's just a noticing. And I mentioned a little bit tonight, just looking at what's the location of this thought? Where did it come from? Where did it arise from? And then we'll go deeper into that analysis. And that is kind of, again, this what they call insight meditation. We begin to see that thoughts are not nearly as solid, because oftentimes you'll have a thought and you'll go, well, that's, it's a belief I have. And then you just notice it. You see that maybe it traces itself back. You don't have to think back, but it'll just say, oh, that was something I experienced when I was 8 years old. And how did I come to that conclusion? Was it something somebody told me, or was it just a moment of experience and then I codified it as that's reality? And we start to see that given a little different situation, that same experience may have been codified in a different way. And so we start to see that how we respond to our lives is highly conditioned by the past, and it's rather random what family we were born into, or what religious group we were brought up into, or what friends we made often, and that forms our worldview. And we start to see that worldview is useful, but it's limited by the experiences we've had. And so that's another teaching in Buddhism, is letting go of attachment to a particular view of how life should be. Again, it doesn't mean we don't have that ethics and all that, but we're not battling with everybody to have the same view as we are. A hard thing to do. So thank you all for coming tonight. And this was recorded, and then we'll close with our slides about upcoming events and things like that. Let me get my screen adjusted here. There we go. So to help us continue this work, I don't like to monetize things, but it probably costs us $30 or $40 to put these on each time through our church, which is something a gift we give to the community. But we also would love to have you, if you're able and find benefit from this work, to contribute to us on a monthly basis or a one-time basis, whatever that might be. And there's a tiny URL that says give online at tinyurl.com/donate to UUCC. And you'll get a link in the follow-up email in a week or so here with the recording of this video. So you can use that there as well. And then I thought we'd list a few of the upcoming events that we have that you might be interested in. So we have on February 1st, we don't know if this is happening yet, but we're a little bit low on registrations. We're having a growth to clarity retreat at our church in South Portage at Unitarian Universalist Community Church. It's at 10771 Shaver Road. But you can go to our website and there's information there to register. It's a free program from 9 to 2. And you're
Eric,
welcome.
can you
Yes.
hear me? Actually, it's that what it's not a
Well,
free.
that's right.
It's
Yeah, that's right.
$25. Yeah. But
There is
there
a
are
20,
scholarships available.
yeah, there's a lunch is included in this, so there's a $25 registration fee. Sorry about that. And then in late February on Thursday at 7 p.m. on the 27th, Leading a Soul-Centered Life with Russell Bishop. He's a wonderful speaker and has done uh, work nationally in the spiritual practices, spiritual life. So it should be a very interesting conversation. Again, you can go to our website and register there as well. And that's a free Zoom event. So, and we'll be back in a couple weeks. We'll see you in a couple weeks on a Monday. And hope all goes well in your life between now and then. Thank you very much. Have a good evening.